Hello and welcome to another edition of MLB Pro Happy Hour. I am your anonymous GM, and today is November 20th, 2018. Today is the day we have all been waiting for. Today is the day that people have had circled on their calendars since back in January, when the announcement was made that an agreement had been reached between MLB Pro and the NPB and Shohei Ohtani with the Major League Baseball Pro Players Association in an agreement that would bring Ohtani to MLB Pro at the conclusion of the 2018 season. A process was laid out. There was a blind bidding process. There were proposals made. And there has been a week plus of Ohtani dealing with the closest of trustees, of advisors, of family, of those he trusts most to decide where is the best team for Ohtani to join here over in America to continue his baseball playing career with MLB Pro. Before we get to a finalist, let's break down the process. This process, again, all began roughly 11 months ago when a decision was made, an agreement was reached between two leagues, a players' association, and a player that would allow Shohei Ohtani the opportunity to play in MLB Pro. With that, Ohtani pleaded, and the Players Association and the team owners ultimately agreed on that he would come over with a predetermined amount of service time in order to appease his potential for reaching free agency sooner rather than later, in an attempt to allow Ohtani the opportunity to fix any, mistake, if you will, if a team goes against a promise or a guarantee, or if something isn't working out. Ohtani is able to get out of a deal. In addition, an agreement was reached between all parties that teams would have two contract types to offer Ohtani. A contract option one, which included a no-trade clause, and an option two of not including a no-trade clause. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out between teams. Teams were able to bid up to really depended on teams. Teams were able to bid all of their cash on hand at the end of the 2018 season, as well as bidding up to $10 million in player expenses for both the 2019 and 2020 season. All teams that placed bids on Ohtani, of course, were subject to a 40% tax, or a fee on that bid that every team placed. In addition, the winning team will be charged 100% of their bid. Without further ado, though, or actually, let's hold off a second or two longer. I want to take a look at these rumors. Obviously, we've had months and months of speculation of where will Shohei Ohtani go. We've heard the Seattle Mariners be a hot ticket item, a match made in heaven, if you will. You had Justin Kaiser, the long-term general manager in Seattle, a frequent finisher near the top of the American League West, a frequent playoff contender, a team with a reputation for building elite starting pitching in the American League, a team that has had opportunities in recent years to get over the top, a team that many felt was the best team for Ohtani. I can now confirm the Seattle Mariners did not make an offer to Shohei Ohtani. The Mariners now join the confirmed teams of the Angels, Cardinals, Red Sox, 3 teams not eligible for Ohtani, along with all teams in the American League Central, the Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Atlanta Braves as teams who did not make offers for Shohei Ohtani. To answer Mitch's question, they did not finish in last, although they likely would have had they bid, but there was no bid. The Mariners' plans have likely been to take a look at free agents. We can get into the Mariners' plans likely later. So who did bid on Shohei Ohtani? That is the question. The $1,000,000 question that has been at the hands of the league and those close to the situation. I can now confirm that there were more than 10 bids made on Ohtani. Speculation has up to as many as 15 teams bid on Ohtani. I have another source indicates that number is closer to 12. So somewhere between 10 and 15, closer to 12 according to another source. I am told that while the top 10 teams were guaranteed the right to bid or to make the proposal stage of the bidding process, if you will, I am told the difference between the 10th place team and the 11th place team was just substantial. No team that bid on Ohtani and made a serious run at Ohtani came short of the top 10. There was a clear separation between 10 and 11. So who are the finalists? Well, let me tell you this. 3 American League teams were finalists for Ohtani. 7 National League teams were finalists for Ohtani. There was a heavy play for teams in the National League. The National League, of course, has never won the World Series. It will be interesting to see how that plays into this decision. The National League, of course, is coming off of a year in which the National League's best, Atlanta Braves, got swept in the World Series to the Los Angeles Angels. We have the history in the National League that, for the most part, is a NL East-driven league with the Braves and Mets having the best track record historically over the course of the last 5, 6, 7 years. The National League West, of course, has a bevy of teams at the top. And while the National League Central has had powerful teams in the past, we look at the likes of the St. Louis Cardinals, 2018 was a tough year for Central teams across the board, obviously with the Milwaukee Brewers winning the division with just 81 wins. Having said that, let's get into the proposals and what my sources have gathered comes with these proposals. I'm going to go in alphabetical order, make no qualms of the order that I'm going. This is strictly alphabetical. We begin by confirming the first team to, in fact, be a finalist for Mr. Shohei Ohtani, that being the Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm told Ohtani and his people were in contact with the front office and all-star pitcher Scott Clark. I'm told the Diamondbacks pitch focused on their influx of talent coming up. From an outsider's perspective, taking this all in, you have a team in the D-backs loaded at the top of the rotation. We're talking Scott Clark, a finalist for the Cy Young this past year. You have Bill Hawk and Andrew Morales. 21-year-old outfielder Daz Cameron had a very strong rookie year. And as an organization, they had both the 2017 and 2018 number 1 overall picks in Jeremy Scott and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. You have Juan Marin, an elite hitting infielder, also coming up in the farm system. At the same time, though, when you're looking at the Diamondbacks, you see a team that played in front of a stadium that was half empty last year. A team that has to deal with the likes of the Dodgers, the Padres, the Rockies, and the Giants. Possibly the most competitive division, most competitive with well-performing teams in the National League, potentially in baseball. A wild card, I think, that needs to be considered here is you have strong NPB influences and experience in the personnel, both in the front office and on the field. Something to keep in mind as we move forward with this. The second team that I can now confirm was a finalist for Ohtani. How about MLB Pro's best record, the Baltimore Orioles? I'm told Ohtani and his agent were able to sit down with owner Peter Angelos, manager Chris White, and the head of the Orioles analytics department. I have been told that the meeting focused on the culture of the Orioles, a franchise that has built a winning culture that emphasizes the importance of team over any individual. When you look at the Orioles, you have a team that went from 73 wins in 2016 to 89 in 2017 and 102 last season. The front office, of course, changed before the 2017 season, and since the change, it has been hugely successful. They were a team last year that was very creative for much of the year with their players. We saw pitchers spend time both in the rotation and the bullpen and going back and forth. We saw batters throughout the roster and get plenty of at-bats. And unlike a finalist team number 1 Arizona, the Orioles played in front of a packed house every single night. If you're Ohtani, though, do you want to join a team that has at times shown little loyalty to its players? We look at the bullpen last year. Aroldis Vizcaino was a key contributor throughout the season. He was immediately traded at the end of the season. 2 years ago, Anthony Hale, an up-and-coming star with the Orioles, traded last offseason to the Giants. There is definitely some questions of loyalty with their players when it comes to the Orioles, a team always looking to advance on the field and in the standings. 2 down, 8 to go. Team number 3, the Chicago Cubs, where GM Justin Jabs met with Ohtani last weekend. I'm told the Cubs discussed growth both as a player and as a team with a top 10 farm system. The Cubs laid out a plan for Ohtani in which he could spend time both on the mound and in left field. Sources indicated Ohtani was intrigued by the previous usage of pitcher-turned-first baseman Sean Doolittle and his experience with the Cubs. Taking a look from the outside again, though, I have to wonder how Ohtani and those close to him viewed this past season for the Cubs. They were a team that won 85 games in 2017. They were among the best in the National League, the best in the NL Central, and they ultimately decided to tear things down to the tune of just 53 wins last season. In a market like Chicago with loyal Cubs fans, is this the approach that could scare Ohtani off? Could it happen again if the Cubs, ultimately fall short? Team number 4, the finalist, and I see Scott is sitting impatiently in chat. I can tell you now, Scott, you were in fact a finalist for Shohei Ohtani. You were the 4th team. Rumor has it that the 2017 NL champion Cincinnati Reds made a very compelling offer to Ohtani. I'm told their offer was based on the ability to, again, both hit and pitch. An offer was made to play for a team that has potential to be right back at the top of the National League Central. Again, this was the 2017 National League champion, Cincinnati Reds. It's an offer, though, that would land Ohtani with an organization that fired manager Wally Backman near the end of last season, despite having won the National League and the National League Manager of the year prior. This is a team that saw pitcher after pitcher after pitcher get hurt at an alarming rate. Could that concern Shohei Ohtani? Trainer Chris Kingsley is back. The Reds have not gotten rid of him. That is something that is going to intrigue me ultimately with this decision. Your 5th finalist for Shohei Ohtani? The Colorado Rockies. A team with one of the best young starting rotations in baseball. Not just the National League, but baseball. With the likes of Craig Cooper, Orlando Garcia, Ronald Dunham, and Judd Graham. Not only do the Rockies have great pitching, though, we're talking the National League's highest scoring team. A team led by an outfield pair of Jock Peterson and Will Myers. Behind the plate, you have one of the game's best catchers in Jed McKinley. And in the dugout, this offseason, the Rockies brought in the defending National League champion manager of the manager of the defending National League champion, Desi Wilson from Atlanta. So we have production on the mound, we have production in the field, and we have production at the managerial spot in the dugout. Some concerns, though, with the Rockies, of course, the altitude. Is Ohtani ready and willing to deal with the Coors Field effect? Might the altitude affect his ability to pitch one day and play in the outfield the next day? It'll be an interesting thing to look at. That is your top 5 so far, or your first 5 rather: Arizona, Baltimore, Chicago Cubs, the Cincinnati Reds, and the Colorado Rockies. Team number 6, a team I think everyone envisioned being a finalist for Shohei Ohtani. This is a surprise to absolutely no one. I'm told that the Houston Astros are a finalist. I'm told the Houston Astros took a very analytically driven approach with their proposal to Ohtani. As we have discussed often here on MLB Pro Happy Hour, the Houston Astros are a team like no other when it comes to the ability to offer anyone the ability to play with some of the next great generation of MLB pro players. A team that is willing to allow Ohtani to hit and pitch. They're a team that wants to go slow and build Ohtani into the great player they know he can be. At the same time, though, with so much talent in the pipeline on the rise, could Ohtani worry about being overlooked? Could he get lost in the shuffle a little bit? Could he have to, frankly, compete with some of the players coming up? There are stars coming up for Houston. Does Ohtani want to be one of them? Or is he scared off by them? I don't know. Team number 7, our 7th team. We're going back to the National League. We're going back to the National League Central. The 2018 NL Central champion Milwaukee Brewers were, in fact, a finalist for Shohei Ohtani. I'm told the Brewers had a very positive meeting with Ohtani. A meeting in which the Brewers played up the opportunity for Ohtani to join Esteban Hernandez and Jose Gonzalez in what could become one of the best outfields in baseball. You have an organization that is able to offer the ability to play in a smaller market, the likeness of Milwaukee. Of course, they're a team that won the Central, but just at 81 games. There were injuries, but there was also now the midseason trading and the sell-off at the trade deadline that the Brewers had that included the trading of Madison Bumgarner. A team that, while looking forward for the potential of Ohtani, it's interesting to see how they compare to some of these other teams in the mix. Team number 8, another finalist for Shohei Ohtani, one of the National League's best, one of MLB Pro's best, the New York Mets. One of the best-run organizations in the league, the Mets made a strong play at Ohtani. I'm told they made a unique pitch to Ohtani, though. While most teams were focused on allowing Ohtani, or pitching to Ohtani, rather, the idea of being both a hitter and a pitcher, I'm told the Mets focused their proposal on the pitching side of things with Ohtani. With pitching coach Jimmy Lundgren, a coach who has led the staff to tremendous success over the past 4 years, with the leadership of Jonathan Neese, the leadership of John Lester, and the leadership of Max Scherzer, I'm told the Mets believe Shohei Ohtani could join that trio. You have the likes of Matt Harvey. He could be the next wave of a great New York Mets pitcher, a pitcher who could get the Mets back to the top of the National League East. At the same time, there's tremendous amounts of pressure to perform immediately if you're Ohtani and you're joining the Mets. They're a 90-plus win team. They've won 90 games every year for the last 6 years. They have depth. They have options. Do they have the patience to allow Ohtani to grow? It will be very interesting there. Team number 9, we're heading back out west. A team that made a huge splash with the signing of Japanese pitching coach Mitsuyoka Hamada from the Phillies. I'm talking the San Diego Padres. Hamada, the Padres' $10 million pitching coach, comes over after helping lead the Phillies' dynamic staff led by Sean Gilmartin, Brad Peacock, and Brandon Beachy. The Padres can offer Ohtani warm weather and a chance to play both the field and join a great pitching staff. With Giancarlo Stanton anchoring right field, Ohtani would have to get accustomed to playing left field, a position he has very limited experience playing. But with the likes of Michael Matula, with the likes of Broderick Wilson, and with Stanton hitting cleanup in a powerful and potent San Diego Padres lineup, it's a very compelling and interesting spot for Ohtani-san. Our 10th and final finalist for Shohei Ohtani. One second. Before we get to this final finalist, you've heard 9. If there are any updated predictions, guesses, estimates, who's best, send those quickly over in a PM, and I'll get to those in a second before we potentially hope to hear the decision. I have a couple messages out to my sources, and I believe we're going to have an answer very, very shortly. But Let's hear what we got. But moving on, I don't want to leave out our 10th finalist here. Our 10th finalist, back to the American League East, back to one of the American League's best. We head north of the border, the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays were another team that pitched Ohtani with familiarity with a slew of Japanese personnel on staff. A team that pitched its competitiveness with the elite teams in the league. A team that had the American League Rookie of the Year in Brian Anoa. A team that continues to have Bryce Harper, even if Harper is rumored to have been put on the trade block recently, or at least was willing to hear his name discussed in trades. And a team that has the pedigree to compete with anyone year in, year out. While they may have improved with their flurry of off-season trades, though, some questions again were arisen with loyalty. You have the likes of J.D. Martinez and Carlos Martinez, two key contributors with the team, both traded this offseason. An organization that allowed Jesus Montero to walk in free agency, perhaps with the desire of filling that spot with Shohei Ohtani. But at the same time, it makes you question, why were they letting Ohtani walk? To summarize, the 10 finalists would be, one second, you had the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Baltimore Orioles, the Chicago Cubs, the Cincinnati Reds, the Colorado Rockies, Houston Astros, Milwaukee Brewers, New York Mets, San Diego Padres, and the Toronto Blue Jays. With that, altogether, I'm told all teams made very impressive, thoughtful proposals on Ohtani. Those close to the situation have informed me that the past week has not been easy. I'm told he valued time with those he trusts, and he was seeking as much insight and help with those with this important decision. Again, I don't think there were any clear favorites here. I think a commercial break is in order. We'll take a 1-minute break. Any other league rumors we want to address quickly? I'm going to allow my sources to get to me here in a second. Awaiting confirmation on the rumor I have sitting at me. But again, any rumors, send them my way. I see one rumor being typed up at the moment. Free agency, of course, is underway. We saw the likes of Yasiel Puig and Jose Abreu make a splash into free agency. We have seen the likes of Jordan Lyles seeking more than $24 million a year as one of the highest paid free agents on the open market, along with Danny Espinosa, the former Minnesota Twin. I'm being told there are indeed serious trade offers out there. Consideration is being made. Perhaps, though, decisions are being made to keep players with the current trade market and assessment. But again, we're not here for trade rumors tonight. We're here for one thing and one thing only. And with that, I can now say, after hearing an initial report earlier today, I have now been informed by both a second and a third source who have confirmed to me that a decision has been made with Shohei Ohtani. And without further ado, I am here to tell you that beginning in 2019, Shohei Ohtani will be joining MLB Pro and will be playing for a National League team. He will be joining the National League West, where he will be playing for the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Arizona Diamondbacks are the team that Shohei Ohtani felt most comfortable with. I am told that the opportunity to join a young pitching staff with the likes of Scott Clark and Bill Hawk and Andrew Morales, with All-Star Rich Dixon, with young hitter Daz Cameron was exciting. I'm told The opportunity to join a young core of Jeremy Scott, Vlad Guerrero, and Juan Marin was enticing. But I'm told two things ultimately stood out the most with this bid. The first, I'm told all-star pitcher Scott Clark reached out to Ohtani and made it clear that he would fit in. I'm told this is one of the only teams to have a player reach out and be willing to talk with Ohtani and issue his perspective, if you will. Scott Clark laid out that the Arizona Diamondbacks are both a very tight-knit group and a team welcoming of all players to joining their farm system. You have a general manager in Jay Schlegel who has instilled with the team a desire to get better. You have a GM who had experience in Japan. You have numerous personnel who has had experience in Japan. A team that has taken the rebuilding process and gotten better year after year. This was a team that was throwing Josh Beckett out there the years ago, and I think it's easy to see the progress that they've made. Looking from the outside, you have a team that isn't asking Shohei Ohtani to carry them by any stretch. They're just asking him to contribute. He can make the Arizona Diamondbacks better. They're a team that doesn't have, while they have, I think, star players, all-star caliber players. Obviously, we're looking at Scott Clark, who is among the tops in the National League in Cy Young voting. But if you were just to ask for name recognition, I think the Diamondbacks fall short. And I think that is something that could have contributed to this decision. You have Ohtani, he can join and just be another one of the guys. You have a bench coach, Hall of Fame shortstop Alan Trammell. He's committed to giving some of the best defensive advice on the market. Shohei Ohtani, as he comes over without much experience in the field, I think learning from the likes of Alan Trammell can be very exciting for him. I think it will be very interesting, of course, to see how this plays out, playing the field rather than just DHing. I think that'll be very interesting, but I also see the pressure not necessarily being there by joining one of the elite teams, the Baltimores and the Torontos of the world, the New York Mets of the world, even maybe the San Diego Padres of the world, all teams that have had higher expectations. I think when you're looking at maybe the teams that came close, you had, who else? Some of the other finals, just thinking off the top of my head. Maybe Colorado would have been an intriguing place to see with Coors Field, but I think it's safe to say Ohtani maybe didn't see a future in the field with two corner outfielder spots that were not readily available for him to play in the outfield there. I think the opportunity, though, for Ohtani to come over, hit and pitch, to be with players he's familiar with managers and personnel he's familiar with, in an environment that doesn't necessarily have the pressure of other competitive teams in bigger markets. I think it's a fantastic decision by Ohtani, and it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. Just taking a quick look here at the Arizona Diamondbacks. Let me pull this up for 1 second. They were a team last season that finished 10th in the National League in batting average, 14th in on base, 12th in slugging. Offensively, they really struggled. There's no denying that. They're a team that on the mound had their ups and downs. Their rotation wasn't bad, but their bullpen really struggled. This is going to give them depth on both sides of things. I think we can probably expect to see less of William Maddox in the rotation. I think we're looking at Clark, Hawk, Morales, Michael Wacha. Will he stay in the rotation? And Ohtani. As far as the offense goes, I have to imagine Ohtani's going to get quite a bit of time in right field, taking over for Arturo Velazquez. You will put Ohtani and pair him with Rich Dixon and Daz Cameron, and I think you have a young, exciting outfield if you're the Arizona Diamondbacks. Other young players contributing next season. I think we saw the September or late season call up rather of Matt Hansen behind the plate. Will be a contributing force for the Diamondbacks this year. We saw Joey Gallo play a full season last year for the Diamondbacks, 114 games. The power's there. Obviously, questions will always be there about his ability to put the ball in play. But, again, another bat. The Diamondbacks will be a team to watch moving forward. If there are any comments here, let's just take a quick look here. Who was second? I honestly don't know who was second, but it would have who I would have picked if I were to have been Ohtani. That's too tough to say. I honestly don't know who the tough bus team was or what the offers fully stated, so I can't answer that. Congrats, Arizona, from Justin Jabs. I'm told again the Chicago Cubs. I'm told every team that made an offer at Ohtani made a quality offer. I'm told this process was not easy. A decision was not easy. There was back and forth between those advising Ohtani, and I'm told there were several teams that were serious contenders, with the Diamondbacks ultimately edging ahead. I am being told, one second. Let's see what I'm being told. I'm told that proposals will be out, hopefully by the end of the week. It looks like Thanksgiving might be getting in the way there, but I'm being told by the end of the weekend, proposals should be out. I am being told that we had a trade today. What is this trade we had? Being told the Rays sent AAA pitching coach Neil Allen to the Rockies for shortstop Brett Sullivan of the Rookie League Grand Junction and pitching coach Ariel Prieto of the Modesto Nuts. The Rockies were looking to swap coaches. The Rays were looking to swap coaches, and the Rays saw a better pitching coach in their eyes, so we had a small trade there. With that, though, I think the news of the day has been confirmed. We got what we were waiting for, and that, of course, was the Shohei Ohtani news. I hope to be back here with another happy hour a couple times during the offseason. I apologize for a busy schedule that kept me away during the World Series. Obviously, the Angels took care of the Braves. We had, I believe, a tight game in Game 1. Game 1 was the one that went extra innings, I believe, and I believe Game 2 was a comeback. I don't remember Game 3 or Game 4. Rather, all I remember was games were close. The series was maybe closer than scores indicated. But the World Series is over. Ohtani's decision has been made. Free agency, full steam ahead. Maybe we'll get into some free agency rumors next week. Maybe looking ahead at where we expect free agents to go, or maybe who will be in play for the top free agents. We can look ahead to the Rule 5 draft and the winter meetings in a couple weeks. Again, all rumors, send those my way. It is my joy to bring you these MLB Pro Happy Hours. I look forward to being with you sometime soon. Take care. Congratulations to the Arizona Diamondbacks, and best of luck to Shohei Ohtani on his journey to MLB Pro in 2019. Thanks, guys.